The Girl Crush Podcast. Some theme music. We're obsessed with Jennifer Aniston.
Pretty good plot.
What about her hair?
We're very messed up.
So there's actually a pretty big spread.
This is iconic Jen.
It's perfection.
I love the ending.
Jen was definitely the best.
Oh, yeah. It just has it all.
It's so good.
It's hilarious.
Great Jen hair and outfits.
This was super entertaining.
It's true.
Hello, and welcome to the Girl Crush Podcast. I'm Anne.
And I'm Allie.
Every season, we choose an actress to be our girl crush, review every film in her filmography, and rank the films from best to worst. Season 1 was all about Jennifer Aniston, and Season 2 is all about Sandra Bullock. Today's episode is a special bonus episode all about the acclaimed Friends reunion, which we recorded via Instagram Live. For more content related to our girl crushes and the movies we're reviewing, follow us on Instagram at girlcrush_pod, where you can see the live video from this episode, or check out our website at girlcrushpodcast.com. If you like what you hear, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Hey guys. I'm getting Anne on. Hey Anne.
Hey.
We are live.
Wow.
We have some people joining already. We're going to give everyone a couple minutes to join here as we get started, but we're super excited. So while everybody's joining, we would love to know where everybody's from. So could you put in the comment section what city you're joining from? As a reminder, I'm Allie. I'm in Chicago.
And I'm Anne. I'm in Denver.
Anne, do you have a nice drink or a snack with you?
I do. I'm sporting our Wander and Ivy Chardonnay this evening out of a friend's glass, of course.
We're using the same one. That was not planned.
That was not planned.
We do have the same set of glasses. Not planned to use those tonight.
That's so funny.
You're drinking the Chardonnay.
I am. Went with the Chardonnay. It's
Nice. I'm drinking the red wine blend.
Mm.
So if you guys have not heard our sponsor, Wander and Ivy, yet, they're a premium single-serve wine company. They're awesome. They're not sponsoring this episode, but we just love them so much. We're drinking the wine while we record tonight. And we do have a discount code, so if you're interested, go to, you can follow them at Wander and Ivy on Instagram, and you can use the code GIRLCRUSH for 15% off and free shipping, which is a really good deal.
Sure is.
I'm taking a look at who's all joining. Hi, Sydney. Hi, Hannah. Yay.
Yay. I'm so excited to talk about this. I was rewatching it again, and just, more thoughts come to you when you rewatch it.
I've watched it twice, too, already, and all the feels.
I feel like the first time you're just kind of taking it all in, It's like going to Disney World for the first time. The second time, I'm like, that's the ride I need to go on.
Yeah, so true. Oh, I love it. All right, should we go ahead and get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, we're super excited to discuss the Friends reunion with you tonight, and let us know your thoughts and reactions. Comment in here. We'll try to respond as we see them come through. We're also going to be releasing this audio as a bonus episode. So if you're listening to this on our podcast platform, you might notice the sound is a little bit different because our setup is a little bit different to allow us to be on Instagram Live right now. So keep that in mind. It's could sound slightly different from our normal recording quality. So let's start talking about the opening theme song. When it came on, did you have chills? Because I did.
I did. I have to say, I was a little disappointed because I was really hoping that they were going to recreate the opening sequence. Missed opportunity, in my opinion.
I know,
at least could have done the fountain or the umbrellas. So I was like, that's they could have done better with that. I think, but you do have the feels because you're like, I've seen every episode of Friends except for this one.
Yeah, it's so weird. And I don't know about you, but I don't really remember watching Friends for the first time. I've seen it for so long that I don't remember the newness of watching it for the first time, but it was so fun to experience that with this one.
I actually do know when I watched Friends, like, beginning to end for the first time, was actually after I graduated college, if you can believe it. I had never seen it all the way through. I was so poor, I did not have internet, but I did have the magic of a public library card, and I rented it season by season on DVD from the library, and, like, watched it in my first apartment as a grown adult, and that just, like, it felt very symbolic, and I was emotionally hurt at the end of that show.
Yes, it's true.
It's just like, I don't know, something about it. But seeing a new episode was amazing. I loved watching them all come in and, like, relive being on set.
I know.
And
so good.
Like, seeing what items each of them took, talking about that, like, so random, too. You know, like, Lisa taking a coffee pot and Matt LeBlanc taking the foosball and Jen a coffee mug. I'm just like, something so emotionally, you know, attached them to those items. It's just funny that that's what they chose to take.
Yeah. I also loved the moments of seeing them reunite. Like, I thought it was kind of cool that they brought them in one by one because it gave them a chance to, like, experience coming back onto the set and then seeing them interact with each other. I thought Lisa Kudrow was so cute when she was like, oh, this is all I care about, when she hugged David Schwimmer. I thought it was adorable.
Yes. And honestly, I know they knew when the show ended how iconic it was, so I guess I'm not super surprised that they kept everything from that set, but I'm like, they kept everything from that set.
It is crazy.
And someone had to set it all back up. You know, like, that's just crazy to me.
I visited when Kayla and I went there, we visited, and they have this, like, big prop room and a costume room and everything that they keep so much stuff in, but I don't remember if it was organized by show or if it was organized just by item type, so I wonder how long it took them to figure out where everything was.
Like, it's in some storage unit somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love it. I think we're gonna kind of, like, go through sections of the reunion, and we're gonna, of course, start just with first impressions of, like, seeing these people reunited, and we just have to say the women have obviously aged well, or they just have better Botox estheticians than the men. I don't know. But, you know, that's a first impression.
Yes, I thought they all looked so good. I think Lisa Kudrow has aged so gracefully. Like, she, I mean, you know, Courtney Cox has gotten work done. I actually thought she looked really good. Like, maybe she had some of it reversed a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought she looked more natural in this than I'd seen her in the past. And then, obviously, Jen. She's a queen. And
Scott.
Scott says Ross looked good.
Seeing Jen, I'm like, has she really, seeing her next to the other women, I'm like, has she really aged that well? Like, are her genes that good, or has she just had such amazing, subtle work done that you just, like, don't really notice it? Yeah. Which is possible. I mean, she's, like, very wealthy. So.
It's possible. If she has had it done, then whoever she's going to is very good.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just has, like, really, I don't know, good. I mean, she might have, like, people who are working out with her and creating a whole skincare routine for her and stuff like that.
Yeah. She jade rolls for 30 minutes a day. I mean, who knows?
Invest a lot in my skincare products, and I might regret it someday, but I'm sure she has the means.
Yes, Cindy, it's all the collagen she's drinking. Her new Vital Proteins.
I do have some Aveeno products. Ooh, someone in the comments, Steph has gotten Botox. Highly recommend. Interesting. I've never had it.
No. As this is a side tangent, but as you know from my what we're watching this week, I've started watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians as I've been painting all the trim in my house, and just watched the one where Kim got Botox for the first time. So that was, you know, an experience.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Anyway, speaking of the guys, I could not stop looking at David Schwimmer's face. Like, his cheeks to me looked like they had some implants, perhaps.
Okay.
Don't know.
Kale also thought that he had implants in his cheeks. I actually thought it kind of just seemed like his cheeks were sagging and he has really high cheekbones. But I don't know.
All right. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Joey, Matt LeBlanc, I think he aged like such a normal dude. Like, he's just like really a normal 50-year-old guy. Like, he's got the gray hair. He gained a little bit of weight, but he still looks good. He just looks like an older version of himself.
He really does. And he just had like fun uncle at a cookout vibes like the entire show. You know, he just seemed so comfortable around everybody. I feel like he's just such a natural, you know, fun person to be around.
Right. Totally agree. Okay, Matthew Perry. I feel like we have to talk about it because everybody on the internet is talking about it. And I think a lot of people are being really mean about him. Some people are just concerned. He did go through a period of being addicted to prescription drugs. And actually, it's really sad. He doesn't remember even taping or filming like seasons 3 through 6 of Friends, which is awful. Like, you can't tell when you're watching it, but once you hear that, you can sort of see the effects of it later. Like, that's why his weight fluctuates and stuff like that. But from what I understand, he's overcome his addiction problems, and I have to give him all the props for that. And maybe it took a toll on him a little bit, but another thing is he apparently had emergency dental surgery like the day before. So some people noticed like his speech seemed a little odd. I thought maybe it looked like he had like dentures or something.
Yeah, it looked like a full set of caps to me.
Yeah. So I wonder if he had emergency dental surgery, like maybe it wasn't even something permanent. I don't know. Maybe it was like, got to make him look as good as he could and get him through like the Friends reunion.
Yeah, I don't know. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but I feel like I was almost sad, and I maybe shouldn't say sad, but it was almost sad to see like that different side of him that was so vulnerable with the group, because you have this image in your mind of who Chandler is and who Matthew Perry is. Yeah. Of being this like really fun, confident guy. And I felt like he was so vulnerable during this, saying like how much anxiety he had delivering jokes and stuff like, and that even his castmates didn't know, which I thought was really interesting to kind of surface during this reunion of all places.
Yeah, totally agree. And I thought his castmates did seem surprised by it. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at some of our comments here. We're getting some comments. Love for Perry. Hope he's all right. We agree. White hair makes Matt LeBlanc look a little old, but he's still all right. Love it.
I also loved them just reminiscing throughout the scene. I'm glad they gave them time to do that, and I wish there had been more footage of that. Mm-hmm. And as you know, our first season's girl crush was for Jennifer Aniston, and I thought it was so impressive and also very cute that she like remembered what everybody was wearing the day they all met. And I'm like, I don't remember what I wore yesterday. I mean, I can't tell you what you were wearing the day that we met.
I know, I completely agree. When she started spouting that off, and in such detail, it wasn't just like, oh, you wore a dress. It was like pink baby doll tee or whatever it was with the white trim. Like, so impressive.
I loved it.
Yeah, so funny. I loved hearing like the different things that they did on set. Like Matt LeBlanc erasing Courtney's lines from the tables, and like she didn't even remember that. But I kind of got the vibes that they were all sort of like their characters in some way. Like, I thought, especially like Matt LeBlanc gives off Joey vibes even when he was just being Matt.
Totally. And maybe that's why I was like kind of sad to see that side of Matthew Perry, where I was like, that's so not Chandler, you know?
Yeah. Exactly, that's so true.
We'll talk about this a little bit more in our next section, but like Courtney Cox, being such a Monica in real life, and if you follow her on Instagram, you can see that she really is like a Monica in real life. Like, she loves to cook. She's like super organized. And I think it's funny, like, even back then that she told the producers that she was a Monica, not a Rachel.
I loved that. I thought that was so interesting. Okay, before we go on to the next section, I see your guys' comments on David and Jen, Ross and Rachel first kiss. Can we please talk about David and Jen, the crushes? We're going to get there, I promise. But speaking of the casting, so I loved hearing about the making of. And I thought the way they introduced the creators, Bright, Kaufman, and Crane, I thought it was so cool. Like, they introduced themselves and then put the one name on screen. And I was like, oh, like, how many times have you seen that pop up and never thought about it? Yeah. And I really liked their interviews, and I loved hearing how Friends was based off of like their experiences and people they kind of knew, and just what their life was like.
Yeah, and if you notice, there was a slight dig at Seinfeld in saying, this wasn't just about, a lead with friends. This was a true ensemble show. So many people think Friends is a ripoff of Seinfeld, and I haven't watched Seinfeld end to end, but I've watched a lot of Seinfeld, and
Same here.
I don't see that. I do, however, maybe a controversial opinion, think How I Met Your Mother is a ripoff of Friends, because it is like exactly the same.
I completely agree. You can see the parallels so well with that. I think Seinfeld, maybe there's some things in there that could have inspired Friends, or
Sure.
like inspired certain things in Friends, or maybe held like a certain place in people's hearts similar to how Friends does. But I completely agree with you. I don't think it was a ripoff, but I do think How I Met Your Mother was. And I'm curious if those of you guys listening, have you seen Seinfeld, and have you seen How I Met Your Mother, and what do you guys think as well? So feel free to add that in the comments.
I see Christy's here. I know she's a huge How I Met Your Mother fan, so sorry, Christy.
I still liked the show up until the final episode, but I mean, I'm not going to give away any spoilers on another
Yes.
on this podcast. I loved hearing the order in which they were cast.
Yes, I knew that Jen had been cast last, but I didn't know that David was cast first, and that the part of Ross was literally written for him.
Yes, I thought that was so interesting.
Especially because so many people hate Ross.
I know.
Like they created the show with him in mind, and people are like,
People are like, no. Yeah, I loved that. I loved hearing about how both Jen and Matthew Perry were on other pilots and like were doing other shows, and basically the Friends creators had to sort of steal them.
I feel like somewhere someone at Warner Brothers has a reel of LAX 2194 that they could sell to the highest bidder.
Yes. I would love to see that.
Need to see it. I was kind of surprised, I guess, to hear that all of them say, the first day that we met was after we were cast, and we met like on the first day of filming, essentially, or at the first table read.
Yeah, like they didn't test anybody like interacting with each other.
How lucky did they get to end up with people who had such chemistry? I mean, how do you not test them together?
Yeah, seriously, I don't understand that at all. I mean, I did theater in high school. Sounds really
Same.
dumb to say here, but even in those shows, like, you have to read with whoever they're considering casting you with. Maybe, I wonder how common it is in professional acting, though. Like, do they just expect that you'll be able to turn the chemistry on with everyone, or is that uncommon for them to, not have potential actors read together?
Honestly,
co-stars?
as not a professional actor, I can't answer that, but
It's interesting, though, because that definitely
is.
surprised me, too.
I'm sure they're in such a hurry to cast, but like they cast over so many months for this. You couldn't bring someone back in? That blows my mind.
Right. Especially since they were so set on Ross. Like, you'd think they'd want Rachel, whoever's reading for Rachel.
Right.
That.
Right.
Scott, good comment. Maybe more common when there's a single star to the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, if they're like the focal point.
And lots of love for Ross in the comments. Zoe says she only hates Russ, which is fair. I also loved the fun fact that Lisa Kudrow's character on Mad About You was named Ursula, and I wondered if that's why they ended up naming Phoebe's twin sister Ursula.
I think it's actually sort of I think
like a
her
crossover?
twin, I think her twin Ursula, I think they were like, no, Phoebe is Ursula from Mad About You's twin.
Yes.
I think.
Okay. I haven't seen Mad About You, to be honest.
Well, yeah,
so-
me neither.
Okay.
But I thought I read that somewhere. But yes, we just got a comment and about the producer saying the show won't make Jen a star. That was so funny when Jen was just like, and enough said.
Yeah. I loved the brief moment where she thought the producer was in the audience. But honestly, if Jennifer Aniston, what are you going to say?
Right, he
You
would probably apologize.
Yeah.
You were right. I'm sorry. Nobody's ever heard of this other show.
I loved throughout this whole reunion, especially with the behind the scenes footage that we got to see, how you just got to witness that the chemistry wasn't just when they were acting, but it was truly that they were like a family.
Yeah.
And Marta Kaufman said that the whole point of the show was that it's about the time of your life where your friends are your family. And I think the show and the ensemble was so successful because they became friends who were like family. And so it was really just, that's what it was, right?
Oh, yes. I loved that. I got such chills when she said that comment. It's such a simple comment, like that time when your friends are your family. And I never thought about it, but it totally brought me back to like when I was living with you and with Sydney, who I think is on here right now. It just made me, like, gave me all those feels of like, yeah, there is a point in your life when you're a lot of times in your early 20s where most of your life experience you're experiencing alongside friends. And it's just such a unique time. And I think maybe I didn't realize the significance of it at the, like, when we were all living together, but now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, yeah.
I'll come back to this with my closing comments with our final impressions, but I totally agree with you.
Yes.
And I don't obviously know what it takes to create a TV show, but I love that they like started out in one direction and they really paid attention to the audience's reactions, and the writers didn't have such big egos where they were like, no, this is the way I want to tell the story. They kind of listened to what the audience wanted, like stopping mid-filming to rewrite a joke that didn't land.
I loved that.
Yeah.
It made me gain even more respect for the show, too, because I feel like a lot of times sitcoms and maybe even Friends, like, get some flack for, like, having a laugh track. And I knew it was filmed in front of a live audience, but hearing their take on how they would rewrite the jokes and stuff just made me even more convinced that, like, yes, it's a laugh track, but I believe that those were the real laughs because they were clearly writing to try to get those laughs. So I thought that was really, really cool to hear about.
Yeah, and the fact that Monica and Chandler wasn't supposed to be a thing. Like, it was supposed to be a fling and get some laughs and be done, but people loved it so much, they carried it for the rest of the show.
I know. I always had wondered before if they knew that was the plan. And apparently it wasn't, which I think is even more genius because they become such an iconic couple.
I want to know if they originally planned for, like,
the hookup.
Phoebe and Joey to get together. Or if they had planned for something else and then they just had to go with Chandler and Monica.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so interesting.
I have to say, I totally teared up when they were talking about taping the final episode. Whenever they showed Jen and David, like, continuing to hug after the cameras cut, because you just have to imagine, like, how emotional that was to film.
I can't even imagine that moment. Like, we've all had experiences in our lives that come to a close. And I think we can all relate in some way, you know, whether it's you graduating high school or, like, we were in an a cappella group, whether it's that ending. Like, we all have some bit of that. But this was at such a large scale, it's really hard to imagine. It's like 10 years of their lives, and they are affecting, I know, and they're, like, affecting so many other lives, too.
And that audience that day had some self-control, because how that audience did not lose their minds when they saw Jen standing in the door before the camera pans over to her and she says her line of, I got off the plane. Like,
I know. Okay, I did read, because I was like, how did they do this? I did read that there were a couple scenes that they didn't film in front of a live audience. I don't know if that was one of them, but a couple things where they wanted it to be more of a surprise. Or, like, scenes where the characters were supposed to be naked. They weren't actually naked. They, like, filmed those not in front of a live audience. Okay. So I had that same thought and was looking it up, so I couldn't find specific information on that. But I can't imagine, like, being in that audience.
And just their final hug when they walk out of the door in the hallway. I'm like, oh, I can't. It makes me emotional.
And then, like, the whole scene of them striking the set, and they had that impromptu party after, like, I definitely cried during that. They're, like, signing the flats. I loved that.
Also, there was so much stuff.
Seriously.
That would take forever.
It would. And how sad would that be? I mean, not to bring up, like, my high school acting career again, but here I am.
It was a really serious time in your life.
At the time.
Formative years.
At the time, it was very serious. The show ran for 2 weekends.
And you're like crying. Your senior year of high school, you're a musical, you're striking the set, you're like bawling. These people were on the show for 10 years.
Poodle skirt again. Yeah, I honestly, I can't imagine.
I can't either.
It's crazy.
It really is. So I guess moving on from the making of the show, obviously they redid the quiz, the famous quiz. We got to see part of it. I just want like a YouTube video of the whole quiz. That's what I want.
I know. I wanted
like they showed
more
like
of it.
5 questions, you know?
Yeah, they had so many papers up there, and I'm like, were those all just for show? Or I know they taped more than they released, so I'm still have my fingers crossed that someday we'll get like a bonus content. You know, I don't know, something like that. But I agree. I wanted to see more of the quiz.
Shocked that Mr. Heckles was alive. My jaw dropped. This might have been actually the second most surprising thing of the reunion.
Yes, I was so shocked at that. That was so funny. I also could not remember his name on the spot.
Neither could they, so don't feel bad.
I know. It's so funny. I'm like, how many times have I seen this?
The Barbershop Quartet returning. You know that's the highlight of those guys' careers.
How precious was that?
Loved it. They sounded great.
They did.
Good job, guys.
That was so awesome. The identical hand twin, I thought that was hilarious. I also have to say that I guessed which one was the identical hand twin.
It was too far away. I wasn't confident.
I might have just gotten lucky.
Fair. And yeah, I really wish that we had seen the rest of the quiz. They were so enthusiastic about it. Like, I loved that they recreated it. But there's just, there's other questions they could have redone.
Yeah.
Or they could have, it also would have been fun for them to throw in, like, other trivia about the show and the characters to see how much the actors actually remembered.
Oh, yeah, because from what we could tell, not all of them have watched this a bunch of times like the rest of the world has. And I get, like, it might be difficult to watch yourself, or you might not be as interested in it because you've already spent so much time on it. So it would be kind of funny to see, like, if that knowledge is ingrained in them or not.
Right, like David Schwimmer didn't remember the episode with the one with the ball, you know,
yeah,
where they
which
can't
feels
drop
like
the ball.
one of the most, like, iconic ones.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So funny. So moving on to the table reads. I loved the table reads. I loved seeing them go back and forth between the actual scene and them reading, live during the reunion.
Yes, I loved it. And I wonder how they picked the scenes they did.
Yeah.
Or if they recorded a lot of them and then they picked the best ones. Or if the cast members got to pick the scenes that they did. I'm like, of 10 years of the show, how do you pick what scenes you have them recreate, you know?
Yeah. Did you have a favorite one? And you guys in the comments let us know, too, if you had a favorite scene that they recreated.
I mean, Lisa Kudrow giving it her all. While screaming, "My eyes! My eyes!"
That was legendary.
So good. And she just fell right back into that character.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's
is so natural
Phoebe.
For her.
Yeah.
Yes. She is Phoebe.
I thought it was so funny, like, her comment, we'll get to, like, the couch interview later, but her comment when she was like, to say floopy now, I'm like...
Yeah, I can't do that.
I'm like, you're doing it great. What are you talking about?
It sounds totally natural. Unfortunately for you.
Someone read that David chose the Ross and Rachel scene.
Oh.
That's cool.
Interesting.
That'll
Reigniting an old flame,
I
perhaps.
think. Yeah.
Okay. Also, I know we watched all 39 of Jennifer Aniston's movies and ranked them on season 1 of Girl Crush podcast, but I was kind of shocked. Maybe it was just the back and forth between the table read and the scenes from the past, but I feel like her voice has actually changed the most out of all of them. Like, her voice is a lot deeper now.
Yes, I completely agree. I wondered the same thing, and Kayla and I made the same comment when we were watching. We thought her voice changed the most. And part of me wonders if when she was first cast as Rachel, the first couple seasons, her character is like a little bit more whiny. And I wonder if she kind of altered her voice a little bit, even if it was so minor. I wonder if that could have affected it, or if really her voice just has gotten deeper over time.
But I feel like even her movies from that time,
Yeah.
her voice was kind of that timbre.
Higher, yeah.
And I'm trying to think of like the morning show. Maybe she has like kind of a cold or something. I don't know. I mean, it just sounded lower than usual. If anyone else compares
someone
and
noticed
contrasts.
that too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That just kind of struck me as weird because I was like, she doesn't sound exactly like Rachel anymore.
Right.
She's like kind of sad. Rachel's grown up.
I know. I thought her tone still sounded like her though.
That's
it was
true.
just like the pitch. Yeah, agreed. Someone said Lisa had the same voice. Completely agree. She was Phoebe.
Yes. Yeah, she really was. And I thought Matt LeBlanc sounded like Joey. I mean, like he is Joey.
Right. Completely agree.
So throughout this entire reunion, there are a lot of celebrity appearances. Mm-hmm. And most notably, maybe, was Reese Witherspoon, which makes sense because she was a sister on the show, one of Rachel's sisters. And I just loved her interview that she was starstruck. She felt like she won the lottery. She was like giddy that Joey said, "How you doing?"
Yeah, it was so cute. I loved that. Like just thinking of her as starstruck is like kind of hard to imagine. But I mean, it makes sense. The show was like well known at that point.
Yeah, and we'll maybe talk about some of the other celebrities that were on it, but I'm like, how did they pick these people to be the celebrity interviews for this? Because there were so many. I think Reese made sense, and that was a great first one, but then I was kind of expecting like the rest of
more side characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were so many famous people that would have been great options, and I wrote down a whole list of them if you'd like to hear.
Yes, I do want to hear. And
sure.
Is Paul Rudd at the top? Because that's who I was missing.
I read he couldn't make the taping, but I'm like, you could have pre-recorded something for him.
Yeah.
All those interviews were pre-recorded.
Right.
So that was a mess. But also, Brad Pitt would have stirred up a lot of things.
Oh, yeah. That would have. I wonder if Jen was like, nah, we already got a lot of attention when we did that other like table read, that something high table read.
Oh yeah.
They that blew up Instagram when it happened.
Yeah. I want to say Summer Heights High, but that's not.
Summer is in the name, I think. Someone tell us the name of that thing.
But also Christina Applegate, like her other sister. Julia Roberts. Steve Zahn.
Did you know that Julia Roberts and Matthew Perry dated briefly? Because I did not.
Like around the time they filmed that episode?
I don't know. I didn't look into that closely yet. But if you remember in the reunion, I think it was Jen made a comment like, kind of like, elbow, like somebody liked Julia Roberts.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Thank you.
Thank you. Positively 90s.
Yes. Also, Steve Zahn was briefly in the show. If you remember, he was Phoebe's ice dancer husband.
I forgot
and
about
he
that.
was in a movie with Jennifer Aniston, Management.
Yes.
Interesting movie if you want to go listen to our review on that one. Jon Favreau, like the king of the Star Wars universe now. Great option. Could have been on there. Tate Donovan dated Jen also.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Bruce
Joshua.
Willis. Or Sean Penn. These were my top people that I was like,
man, that's a good list.
Why did you ask these other people to be on here? How did this work? How did your PR people get in touch? I don't understand.
My theory is everybody in Hollywood is a little bit bored, and they're like, let me go, please. I want something to do. I want a job or just to be a part of this. It's so cool. I think everybody wants to be a part of the Friends reunion. And it does, and it only added to it the fact that it's been a pandemic and there's not been a lot going on.
And we asked on our Instagram if there were questions you wanted us to cover, and Hannah asked who we thought was the most surprising guest on the reunion.
Yeah, I thought I thought the most surprising one was David Beckham, because it just seemed so random. And I was like, I don't know. I wouldn't have imagined him to like be a Friends lover, but I guess it's for everyone.
I thought Malala was an interesting
Yeah.
appearance. I'm like, who the heck contacted Malala? And they were like,
Friends
super
reunion.
important world crisis. Would you like to be on the Friends reunion?
Probably like more fun than some of the other stuff that she.
Can you please take a break from your humanitarian work and tell us about how your best friend made you watch Friends?
It was probably like a very nice break for her. Cole Sprouse was missing too.
I read that he
That's a
couldn't
good
come
point.
either, but I'm also like, come on. Justin Bieber in the potato Sputnik costume?
Yes.
Honestly, I'm a huge Justin Bieber fan. Tried and true. However, for some reason,
there's a however.
he has class clown in middle school vibes to me, and I was just expecting him to do something absurd while in the Sputnik costume, and he just like kind of danced.
Yeah, that was
and then
hilarious.
went away. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny that like Hailey Bieber was there, like we saw from pictures on Instagram, but they didn't have her do anything, and I'm like, that seems like a missed opportunity for some of the modeling stuff.
Yeah, I would know her above whoever actually modeled that dress.
Oh, Cara Delevingne?
Sure.
I only really know her by name, but...
Oh, I don't. Sorry.
I thought that David's reaction to Justin Bieber was hilarious. Like, everybody... I think they must have surprised them, or... I don't know, they acted like they were surprised, but David, like, stood up when Justin Bieber came out. He's like, what?
I think it's so funny, like, we assume that everyone in Hollywood knows each other.
Yeah.
But they don't.
No, it's
they
crazy.
don't know each other, and they're, like, secretly fans of each other. And I think it's so funny to see one person who you consider to be uber famous fangirling over another uber famous person.
Yes.
I'm like, how do you guys not know each other?
Right. Like, have your people call my people.
Right, exactly.
Oh, we didn't talk about Lady Gaga yet.
Yes.
What did you think of that appearance?
That's
what I thought too.
Again, an interesting choice of a person to bring on for that. And I don't even know who else I would have picked, but like maybe Taylor Swift, who actually plays the guitar a lot. And I haven't been to like a Lady Gaga concert, but I don't think she does a lot of acoustic music playing. And
I don't know.
I was kind of offended that she raised it an octave. I'm like, keep it in Phoebe's world, okay?
How dare you?
Don't make
Lisa Kudrow.
Don't come down for Lisa Kudrow, okay? Lisa Kudrow is fine where she is.
That's so funny. I mean, obviously she sounded incredible. I think Lady Gaga is so talented. But I agree, it was kind of like a funny choice. But part of me wonders if they chose her because of the comment that she made at the end when she like thanked Lisa Kudrow for being the quirky girl on the show, or being the different one. Mm-hmm. And I do think Lady Gaga, she at least celebrates differences. So I kind of wonder if that was the intent. I also think Lisa Kudrow seemed starstruck by her. Like, it kind of seemed like she didn't really know what to do. Like, she was like...
I'm like, she obviously knew that she was coming, though, right?
I would think so. Yeah, I can't imagine that was a complete surprise, but I still think she might have been a little bit like, I don't know what to say.
I want to know, like, what portions of, if any, of the reunion were a surprise to them. Like, special surprises. You know, Justin Bieber was truly... They didn't know.
Yeah. I do think their reactions to some of the, like, Tom Selleck and, like, some of the things in the quiz, I think they seemed pretty genuine. Like, they weren't expecting those things.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they also are all really good actors, so it's possible that they knew.
That's true. They're just, like, breaking out the old acting chops.
Yeah.
Question for the audience. Who was your favorite celebrity appearance? Or least favorite appearance?
Yes, we want to hear them
on
both.
The reunion.
Oh, someone hasn't watched it yet. Sorry, we're spoiling it for you, but it's still going to be worth it to watch for sure.
Definitely.
Because we can't really adequately portray the emotion that comes across.
Yes.
Ooh, Sydney says they gave Lisa a list of 4 names to choose from for Smelly Cat. I'm assuming that's what that means.
Who were the other 3?
Oh,
do
Sydney,
you
I
have
hope
an
you
in?
know.
Taylor Swift better
we're
be
just,
on
like,
there.
Anna and I
Waiting.
are like, yeah, excitedly waiting for who the other names were.
I thought James Corden was an interesting choice of host.
I thought he did a great job as host. But you seem a little uncertain.
I just feel like James Corden gets a lot of unnecessary attention for some reason. Like,
do you hate him?
I don't hate him, but I
You don't get the hype.
I say this as someone who I find myself funny, but you can tell that he finds himself funny, you know? And, like, that kind of bothers me sometimes.
I think you're right about that he knows he's funny, but I don't know, I like him. I thought he was a fun host.
Something sometimes bothers me. Carpool karaoke, I'm all here for.
Yes, please.
Give me all the episodes of that. But I feel like it would have been more fun if they had chosen a previous, like, side star of the show who has experience hosting, or
that would be cool.
Like, would have been a tie back to the actual show. Like, so many guest stars on that show. Like, you have options, you know?
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm curious everybody else's thoughts. Let us know. Did you like James Corden as host or not? So, leave a comment.
I haven't seen Cats, and I only imagine him as his character from Cats, which is, like, probably a problem.
I have not seen it either, so I can't
The trailer
comment.
just really stuck with me.
Well, I can only imagine from the things I've heard about that movie, too. Yes,
Yes, Zoe. Paul Rudd should have hosted this.
Yeah, that would have been really fun. Okay, speaking of the couch interview portion, as I'll call it, who got to go to this show? Obviously, people involved with the show. We saw the Geller parents were there.
Yes.
I was so touched by that. But also, who are these other randos that got to go to this, and how did they get the in?
How did they get the in? How did you get picked to be in that audience?
I wish. I wish I could have been there. Can you imagine?
No. I would
They
have
probably had
openly
to,
leaped the
sign
entire
stuff,
time.
too, because to not reveal
definitely.
some of those secrets that we're going to talk about shortly.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm wondering, did they just film this over a long period of a day? Was this multiple days of filming?
I think it must have been a couple of days, but all in a row. I'm totally speculating, but they were wearing different outfits multiple times. Which, by the way, I need to point out Jen's outfit when she's wearing the black pants and the black top that's, like, very low cut, and it has a really cool back on that tank top or whatever it was. She looked amazing. That was my favorite outfit.
She did. I have to wonder, speaking of the couch interview, like, it seems like they strategically placed them the way that they were lined up on the couch.
Yeah.
With Jen being kind of front and center.
Yeah.
And the most talkative and vocal throughout the whole interview, really.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel like Courtney said a lot.
Yeah,
And I don't feel like Matthew Perry actually said a lot either.
Yeah,
they were
both
kind of quiet.
took a back seat.
Yeah,
and I wonder
which
if
is
that could have
interesting.
been stuff that they cut too. Like,
Maybe.
I think there were probably a lot of scenes that were cut, or a lot of questions that could have been cut, because I'm sure they were doing that for longer than we got to see. So I wonder if maybe once they had all the content, they were like, well, a lot of people just really care about Jennifer Aniston.
Maybe, or she's... Well, we'll talk about this also later, but that she's kind of been the one with the most success.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, she has been the most successful out of all of them. So, yeah, David Schwimmer talked a lot during that section. He was excited.
He kind of seemed like he kind of seemed like the ringleader to me. Like Jen did, and he did, I thought. And I thought his personality was really fun because, I mean, Ross can be a little bit dopey in the show. I'm sorry, I know. I mean, I like Ross, but I get why people are annoyed with him. I'm sometimes annoyed with him. But I think for how he is on the show, like, it was really fun to see David Schwimmer. I thought he seemed very emotionally touched by everything, and he seemed to really care about everybody. I thought it was, like, sweet to see that side of him. And maybe just because, like, being a fan of Jennifer Aniston, like, I see her on Instagram and see her in more stuff. So it was, like, really fun to see that side of David Schwimmer.
Yeah, we really haven't seen a lot of the guys, if you will.
Right.
We've seen Jen, we see Courtney, we see Lisa kind of on Instagram or hanging out together, but seeing the guys come back together, I thought was really special. Even though
Yeah.
Matthew Perry is actually quite active on Instagram.
Yeah, I noticed that
and
too.
has his own, like, Chandler clothes.
T-shirt
I mean,
line. Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yes. Yeah. The one last thing about, because this was during the couch scene and I ruined it earlier by talking about it, but the fashion show, I thought it was funny that almost all the outfits were costumes that Ross wore at some point. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, there are so many iconic outfits in this show. Why did you just pick these?
Yes, like,
You
they
know?
wouldn't even have to be costumes. Like, they could have just chosen their outfits and it still would have been iconic.
Yes.
Like, the Jennifer Aniston plaid skirt.
Yes.
Which, by the way, Kale's mom, so my mother-in-law gave me a plaid skirt from that she had in the 90s. And it looks exactly like Jennifer Aniston's plaid skirt. I can't wait to bring it out and show you guys on Instagram.
You got to do a Sunday Style Spotlight just for that.
I will.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you and ask anyone who's watching right now, what costume or outfit would you have wanted them to show?
Ooh.
I again made a list of things I would recommend. Starting with Rachel's wedding dress from the pilot.
Oh, yeah.
Her cheerleader outfit.
That's what I was going to say. Or the wedding dresses from when the three of them were sitting on the couch. It would have been really cute to get, like, three women to wear those 3 wedding dresses.
Yes. Or the turkey head.
That was a missed opportunity.
Come on.
Yeah,
That's in like 3 episodes.
Seriously, that's so funny.
Missed opportunity.
For real. Okay, another thing that happened appearance during this part was Maggie Wheeler, who plays Janice, which I thought was so funny to hear about her experience, and also that she created the laugh because she was so starstruck but, like, in doing lines with Chandler. She was afraid she was going to break character, so she was like, I need to give my character a laugh so that I can, like, relieve myself. I thought it was so funny to hear that that's how the laugh came to be.
Yes. And, like, you have to think for her. And I'll say, I didn't immediately recognize her. So I don't think I'd recognize her if I saw her, like, on the street.
Yeah.
Here in Colorado. But you have to wonder, everyone who meets her asks her to say, oh my God.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah, Kale was like, it probably sucks to be her. Like, that's probably all everybody, like, wants her to do. And I'm like, I think that sounds like a fun level of fame.
Like, exactly. You're like making enough from royalties that you're probably comfortable, you know?
You're recognizable. People get a kick out of the line, but, like, you don't have paparazzi following you everywhere.
Exactly. You can go to Whole Foods in peace.
Yeah, someone give me, like, a part like that.
Exactly. I think that sounds ideal. And of course, the most iconic part of the couch interview started with asking all of them if Ross and Rachel were actually on a break. And all 6 said yes, which I thought was interesting.
I thought that was really interesting. I always have a caveated opinion to this. And my opinion is, yes, they were on a break. But what Ross did was still wrong because he was intending to get back together with Rachel. So why would he ever think that was okay, even if he was on a break? Like, even so, it's still going to hurt her. So, I don't know. Maybe technically you're on a break, but I don't think it excuses the action.
Agreed. I think he gets off on a technicality here, but I don't like it.
I know. What does everybody else think? Okay, I love this moment because they were on a break.
I don't know. I expected, based on the previews that they gave, they made it look, they edited it.
Yes.
So that it looked like Matt LeBlanc said he like disagreed.
Right.
So whenever they all said that they did agree, I was, a little surprised. But
I know. And none of them gave a caveat like we just did.
No, none. It was
So weird. Okay, but that brings us to probably the most talked about topic from the reunion. The real life crush. And the moment that James Corden asked about it, like, oh, I find it hard to believe there was no actual, like, romances. And everybody just looked around. And Jennifer's like, David?
Would you like to answer this one?
Why don't you take this one? Did it blow your mind? Because it totally blew my mind.
Okay. It does, but it doesn't. Because how could you not be in love with Jennifer Aniston? Of course he had a crush on her.
So true.
I think what's more surprising is that she had a crush on him.
Yes, so true.
Like, and I'm like, first of all, why are you guys seated on opposite ends now?
Just to up the tension, up the sexual tension.
Right? Everyone else just lean back. Get out of the way. But I love that first of all, that the question was asked and that they answered it.
Yes.
And
like, they had to know that was going to blow people's minds.
And that Jen out loud was like, it is going to suck if our first kiss is on camera. Like, they talked about how much they liked each other.
Yes. And I don't know. It totally makes sense, though, when you think about it. And I loved what they said about, like, I think it was Courtney who said at a different point, she was like, good thing nothing ever happened between the two of you because it could have taken away from the chemistry that you had on set. And I think that probably is what contributed to so much chemistry between Ross and Rachel and, like, that unbreakable bond and, like, magnetism that they had because they never got to experience it in real life. So it was always, just there.
I totally agree. I think it's for the best that they were never together during the series. Like Jen said, they both had significant others at the time, and they were, respectful of those relationships. But they're both single now, so I'm just saying.
I know, but I've been thinking about this. There's no way they could publicize a relationship between the two of them if they ever got together.
We don't know when this was filmed. We don't know where they went after.
No, okay, But how could they ever tell the world that they're together? Because it would create so much craziness, don't you think? Like, they could never have a normal life. I think they have to wait to tell anybody until they're, like, married.
Yeah, or, major drama if they ever broke up in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they would have to, like, wait until they knew for sure, like, we're going to be together forever.
Yeah. It's what could have been and it's what everyone probably wanted. But also, we have to remember at the time, Jennifer Aniston was filming a ton of other movies. Like, she was not just doing Friends from, 1994 to 2004. She was making so many films at the time, and she was busy doing other things and, dating lots of other people all the time as well. But I do think it's interesting, it's not like she was in one relationship that whole time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that, like, they never were in a relationship break. They were never on a break at the same time, I guess.
Yes.
I
know. I thought it was so interesting.
I want to see the full cut interview of that portion.
Oh, yes.
And,
like, more of the audience reaction in the crowd that day. Like, what were their faces all like? And how did no one reveal that until it became available on HBO Max?
Yes, Erin says she thought it was interesting that the writers almost didn't make them end up together at the finale, and then they were like, this is what the people want.
Yeah. I know. I thought that the way that they spoke about how they wrote the finale and wanted everything to end up was really cool, because I think sometimes happy endings can be seen as sort of like, it's easy, it's a cop-out almost. But I loved hearing their perspective about, like, how they've taken the audience on this journey, and we're not going to get to see more as the audience. So wanting to leave it in a place like this after we've come to love the characters so much, I thought was such a cool way to think about it, and showed that they actually did put a lot of thought into it.
I wish that whenever he asked the question of, would there ever be an actual episode reunion? Because I know a lot of people were hoping that this would be an actual episode reunion.
Yeah.
I wish that David and Marta had answered instead of Lisa, because Lisa was like, absolutely not. They tied all these characters up. They could never unravel it. And David and Marta are just like smiling and nodding in the audience. And I'm like, they had to have thought about it. Like,
Right.
they've had these characters in their brains for decades. You know, they had to have thought about what they would have done with these characters.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. I'm sure that they've thought about it and talked about it. But I am glad that there has not been a new episode or a movie or anything like that, because I think it would have potentially ruined it. And I don't think it could have been as satisfying. I think there was been a lot of possibilities for it to be unsatisfying.
I think I agree with you. I think it would have been like the Game of Thrones finale where no one was happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know?
like, exactly.
You can't please everyone, so just don't do it at all.
Right. Like, let their imagination run wild. Like, we've all seen this show, or like, we've watched the show for such a long time. Like, we all have the idea in our head of how these characters ended up. Mm-hmm. So we like don't want it ruined.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like, what if?
I know. There's still part of me, obviously, is like, that'd be so much fun. But in reality, like, and when we first heard about the reunion, part of me was a little bit disappointed. I was like, oh, it's just going to be like a talk show. Like, that's kind of lame. But then when it actually came down to it, I think this was the right way to do it.
I totally agree. And so, kind of starting to close out on our overall feelings on the show. You know, I do feel like there were some missed opportunities. We talked about this a little bit. I wish that they had totally remade the intro. Like, how much more... They got paid, like, $3 million to be on this. How much more would you have to throw in for them to open an umbrella in front of a fountain? I mean, come on.
Yes, totally.
And
I thought one missed opportunity was that Courtney and David did not do the routine. Someone brought it up, and I was like, come on, like, this, we all want this. It'd be so fun.
And we know she still knows it because she posted a video doing it with Ed Sheeran.
Which is so random.
If Ed knows it, David must know it. Come on.
Please, we all know it.
Yes. Yeah, that was a total missed opportunity.
Yeah, that was, for sure.
I kind of wish that they had... If they were going to keep these random celebrity interviews, I wish that they had spent more time interviewing the people who were actually on the show versus the random celebrities, like Gunther.
Yeah.
They edited him essentially to say, like, hi, bye.
1 second, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, this poor
Gunther,
guy.
10 years of his life, too.
Honestly, it fits with how they always treated him in the show, too. So maybe it was on purpose.
True. Oh, it's so funny. Before we close out, can we take one moment to laugh at the, like, orchestral string version of the theme song towards the end? Like, that was so funny to me. It was very emotional, and it kind of made it seem like all of them were dead.
It was like just a friend's memorial service.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
Kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
And they mentioned at the beginning, or they mentioned during the couch interview, they're like, we've all only been together once since the show ended. And I'm like, why? Do you have any hypotheses on why that is?
That's a good question. I had the same thought. I couldn't believe it when they said that. I don't know. It seems so odd. And so, maybe just like the busyness of life getting in the way, like not prioritizing it. I don't know.
Christy said this earlier, and in the chat, and I wrote this down as well. Like, when Matthew Perry said, nobody calls me, I was like, that feels like a really sad, genuine, like, you're trying to pass that off as a joke, but it feels genuine. Like, and he seemed a little bit, distant from everybody else during it. Like, he seemed like he felt a little bit awkward at times.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't fit in as much. And I know that their lives have all gone very different directions, but that really made me sad.
Oh, it made me so sad. And I have to wonder if that could be because of the drug addiction issues that he had in the past. I had read previous interviews where, like, David Schwimmer and Matt LeBlanc had tried to talk to him, like, in the height of that. and that they just, at the time, he just wasn't open to it, and it's sort of something that he had to get to on his own to overcome that. So I wonder if that, could have created sort of a chasm between them.
Mm-hmm. Scott says none of them went to the 17 Again premiere, which is a shame because it's a lovely movie.
True. Oh, and Zoe asked, who do you think is getting together and who isn't? So we follow Jen and Courtney. We follow all of them on Instagram, but Jen and Courtney are pretty active on there, and they definitely seem like BFFs. Like, they do a lot together. They, post pictures of them hanging out together. Jen is Courtney's daughter, Coco, her godmother. So I definitely think the two of them are, truly BFFs. Mm-hmm. And I think they do get together with Lisa Kudrow on occasion. It doesn't seem like she's necessarily besties with them, but I think that they get together. I think it's the guys, and no offense to I think, Scott, you might be one of the only guys on here. No offense to the guys. I feel like guys in general are maybe not as good as staying intentionally in touch.
Yeah.
As women. I don't know. Is that bad to say on here?
I mean,
I just did it.
So
I just did
you
it.
did it.
So
it's over.
Sorry if I offended anyone.
But yes, as noted in the chat, the first picture that Jen posted on her Instagram when she broke the app was a photo of all of them together. And I'm like, what made you guys get together then?
Yeah.
If you've only gotten together once since then, clearly you're not going out of your way to hang out with each other. What was that event for? Did you just decide to get together, and maybe that's when you started talking about a reunion and this all kind of got in the works? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a pretty bitter NPR article about, criticizing the reunion, pretty much saying it's just a giant payday for all of them. And I'm like, yes, they
honestly
made $2.5 or $3 million, but in the grand scheme of the royalties that they already make on the show on an annual basis,
it's a drop in
that's a drop in the bucket. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, who cares if it was a money play? Because at the end of the day, they're actors. They're actresses. This is their job. So at the end of the day, it makes sense for them to do certain appearances for money, because this is what they do for money. So as much as we all want it to be one big happy family, which we can get to that in a second. I do think it is. I think they really do genuinely enjoy doing this, but I don't think it's a big deal if it was decided to do this because it would pay well.
If someone paid me $3 million to hang out with you, I wouldn't be like, no, on principle. I'd be like, yeah.
Right. Or even if it was friends that we haven't kept that close in touch with in college, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds great. I'll take the $3 million.
Sure.
Oh.
Let me book a flight real quick.
Ooh, okay, Positively 90s has some insight, it sounds like. Said they've all hung out together in 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, but schedule-wise it seems hard. Matt LeBlanc was filming in London. David lives in New York. That's true.
That is true. They're not all, hanging out in L.A.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And I do think, I think it's really fun to hear them talk about how they feel like a family, and I don't think just because the 6 of them don't hang out a lot means that their bond is any less, because we've been in groups before, our a cappella group in college, and I still do feel like if we were to get together with some of the girls that we don't really keep in touch with anymore, I do think that bond would still, we would still feel that. We've gotten together for reunions and stuff, and you do just sort of pick back up, and you have this shared experience to draw on. So I can only imagine for them, the 6 of them being this main cast in this giant show, I'm sure that runs so much deeper than we can imagine.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that Jen has gone on to be so much more of a household name, or to be more successful than the others? The others have been in TV shows mostly. Courtney was in Cougar Town. Lisa's been in a couple shows Web Therapy and something else. I hadn't heard of them until looking at IMDb, and has done a lot of small cameos. LeBlanc was the only one to get a spinoff for Joey.
Yeah.
No mention of that the entire reunion, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah, that's true.
But honestly, after looking at all of their IMDb's, I'm like, oh, there's all these Showtime shows. I want to go watch that they're in. They look pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, we have some comments from the audience on why Jen might be the most successful. Someone said her arms. Someone said because she's the prettiest. I mean, I do think in Hollywood, I'm sure looks have something to do with it. But I mean, I think they're all good looking, so I don't think it can only be that. I do think, obviously, our whole season 1 was all about Jennifer Aniston, and I think her range is a lot bigger than we realized before this. And even if not everybody quite realizes that, I think it does take a lot of talent to be able to play so many roles. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe she was just able to capitalize on that early on.
Yeah, that's what Christy just said in the chat, that she's made a full career outside of Friends, and you can separate her from Rachel, which is really true. Even though, you know, I mean, starting in 94, she wasn't in, like, a lot of great stuff before then, unless you're a big fan of Leprechaun. But she was so consistently working throughout Friends, I think making a name for herself, like, in films, that she was able to continue that afterwards, whereas, you know, Courtney was in the Scream movies, and that was, like, pretty much it, and the rest of them weren't doing films.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And even, like, Matt LeBlanc went on to be in a pretty popular show, as I realized last night researching this, called Episodes, which is a terrible name for a show. But he literally plays himself on the show, like, kind of as the icon of Joey. And it's just like he just went on, he rode that Joey train as long as he possibly could, which I don't blame him for.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Someone made a good point, like, these were such defining roles for all of them, that they probably got typecast and offered similar roles to the character they played, but Jen took some other opportunities, which I think is true. Like, and she talked about in some interviews that we've quoted on our on season 1 of our podcast. She did take opportunities for movies that were a little bit off the wall or had a role that was different than she usually played. So I think that could have something to do with it. I also think Rachel as a character is so beloved by everybody, because I think she shows a lot of character growth throughout the whole series. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the other characters, like, they just are themselves throughout from beginning to end. And I think, I mean, this is just me saying this right now. I haven't had a ton of time to think about it. It's just a realization I had. But I think she might be the one to show the most character growth. And maybe that draws a special sort of attachment and love for her as a character. So maybe that people also felt that for her as Jennifer Aniston.
I wonder if it was always meant to be that way, because one of the producers, they had such trouble casting that character because she's such a brat in the first season. And I wonder if that growth was always planned for Rachel, or if it was because of Jennifer Aniston, her just skill and, you know, growing up with the show, that it seemed like a natural maturity for that character as well. Because the other, maybe Chandler matures. He has quite the character growth as well, I think. But I just wonder if that was planned.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Someone else said that they think it was building during the show, like her hair in the first season was so iconic, and she kind of became an icon early on. So whether that was intended or not, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she has the it factor, positively 90s says, which is, I think, totally true.
Totally.
I'm going to take a moment to show off my shirt right now, too, talking about Jen's iconic hair. Our friend Gabby created... Sorry, I have this, like, here. Our friend Gabby created these shirts for us that say iconic on it in Friends font and have Jennifer's hair, well, Rachel's hair, I guess, from every single season of Friends.
Love it.
Which is, like, one of my favorite things. So just had to show that off.
You can buy it at the link in our bio. Merch.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. Oh, boy. Yes, and Grace in Friends... Grace in the comments just asked what happened to Phoebe's babies. I mean, they were her brother's babies, but that was a thing in Friends too. The kids, they came, they went. Who was watching them? Nobody knows. If they weren't important to the plot of the story, they were in daycare.
Yep, exactly. We just assume. I love it.
All right. What are your final thoughts likes, dislikes of the Friends reunion?
I loved the whole thing. In general, it exceeded my expectations. I was a little bit, I don't want to say skeptical, but a little bit nervous with all the hype that it wasn't going to live up to expectations and that I was going to end up disappointed. But I think the way they did it was the perfect format. I loved seeing them all interact together. I loved revisiting their favorite moments or, certain moments that were favorites of mine. And I just love the whole thing. The only thing I wish is that we got more of it. Like I'm really hoping they release some never before seen content or something at some point.
Yeah, that would be fun.
What about you?
I love that. First of all, I have to know, loved Jen's enthusiasm throughout this entire reunion. You're right. I think she was such like a ringleader for it.
Yeah.
But she just seemed so genuinely giddy, so excited the entire time. And I think she's a person that you can really see, like, her personality is not her character. Like, you look at Lisa Kudrow and you're like, you are Phoebe. You look at Matt LeBlanc, you're like, you are Joey. And you look at her and you're like, you're not Rachel. You played Rachel really well, but you in real life as a person and your personality is not Rachel at all.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that she's her own person separate from that character. And maybe that's why she went on to be so successful.
I was just going to say that. Like, maybe that contributed to it.
Yeah. My other thing is kind of a bummer, so I hope you have a nice thing to end this on. But I thought the whole reunion was so lovely. I teared up, but it made me so sad. Like, you feel so nostalgic for them, and it just made me really weirdly sad to get older, because it's like they arguably are all walking back into this set, into what was the prime of their lives, the height of their careers, and even though they've obviously all been set for life, they're incredibly wealthy, they can do whatever they want, they can never go back and relive that. And seeing all the behind-the-scenes stuff where you just see that they were truly, like, so together during it, you're like, you can never go back to that, and you can tell they had such an amazing time making the show. And even though they're back on that set and they're doing the reunion, like, it's not the real thing, and they know that. Yeah. And Courtney's saying, like, we're never going to do another reunion. Like, this is it, and that's, I don't know. That's so sad to me.
There
it feels like
really sad. Yeah.
Feels like when you go back to your, like, college town, and you're like,
it'll never be the same.
That wasn't there when I was here, and like, I don't know. It's just, you can't get it back. So enjoy it while you have it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to say 2 cheesy things.
Okay.
If you guys have not gotten to know me yet from listening to the podcast, I like cheesy things, but I also, if I say them, I believe in them. So I hope it comes across as genuine. But the quote, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened."
Oh, no, Allie.
No,
we
but
can't edit that out.
I know, but what I'm going to actually say reminds me of that quote. But I totally get what you mean, and I think for me, just whenever I've experienced something ending that I am really sad for it to end, I always think that it'll never get better than this, but then other things in life happen for you to get excited about, and
that's true.
The next chapter is like totally unwritten and has so much opportunity, and I think in times in the past when I've been so sad for something ending, I couldn't foresee the things that were going to happen next. So hopefully they all feel that way a little bit. Like Jennifer Aniston, obviously, she went on to do like amazing things. All of them have gone on to do like pretty cool things. So hopefully there is that little bit of, glimmer of something happening in the future.
Opportunity on the horizon.
Exactly. I know it sounds cheesy, but I mean, looking back, I feel like you could... Sorry, I saw Sydney's comment. Sydney's our old roommate. Hallmark card, Allie. Yeah, that's true. It's me.
What was your other cheesy thing?
That was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was like a 2-for-1 cheesy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think there's always could be something to look forward to.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think you just wrapped that up beautifully.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. This is our first time doing Instagram Live. We're super excited. We're really glad that you guys joined us and interacted with us, and hopefully we can do a couple more of these. If you're interested, be on the lookout for the audio. We'll put it out as a podcast episode. And right now, or if you love Jennifer Aniston, we have our whole season 1, which is dedicated to her. And then our current season 2, we're reviewing and ranking every Sandra Bullock movie. So hope you guys check that out.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for listening to this bonus episode of the Girl Crush podcast. While we're always here for all things Jen and friends, our current season is all about Sandra Bullock. You can find the video from this live episode on Instagram at girlcrush_pod, or you can find us on our website at girlcrushpodcast.com. And be sure to tune in for our next episode, where we'll be reviewing the movie Hope Floats, starring Sandra Bullock.
Bye.
Bye!